Hey, good morning. It's early in the morning. This is just Tracy. And this is for my friend Heather, mine and Mimi's friend. It's very early. I didn't sleep well. And it's really hard to stop crying. I don't eat. You don't sleep, then you become a mess. So I'm going to work hard today eating, which is just so ironic, but just a little Heather and Mimi and I, we were in a rock band. Well, it changed depending, indie band maybe. And we all played all the instruments and we could all sing and dance. And because it was our myth and our, I don't know what it was, just for our entertainment value. Yeah, it was something. But the band broke up and Heather and Mimi remained friends and me and Mimi remained friends. But Heather posted on Facebook her memories of Mimi, and they were mostly my memories too. And it was a good memory and good remembering how great times were and how much fun we had. We really, truly did. If not only in our own minds. But yeah, so this is for Heather now. I'm going to talk to Heather and say, to answer some of your questions. My timeline's off, so forgive me for that. But I don't know if it was 6 months ago, she called me and just casually mentioned that her doctor said he considers her in palliative care. And I hate the word palliative. With my mom, it's a nightmare. But anyway, basically when the chemo stopped, she would die. And since the chemo was killing her and robbing her of Mimi, that was tough. And I remember she did it casually, and I can remember waking up in the middle of the night and like, you know, what did she say? And, you know, so upset I couldn't go to work. And anyway, I waited till I was a little bit calmer because I didn't want her to have to support me. I wanted to support her. But that's not how it always is it? But yeah, I noticed too, I had sent her a gift box, I guess after Christmas, and you know, she did a video on it for Instagram, and you would not have known it was Mimi for her voice. And I thought, oh my God. But you know, Mimi expected a miracle. She did. And I can remember one time a while ago saying, hey, we need, you know, I believe in signs. My mom sends me all this signs all the time, as you can imagine. But I told her we need signs. And what's the sign? And she's like, what, are you dying? And I said, well, it's COVID. And I mean, I drive every day. Tomorrow we act like it's promised, but it's not promised. So, but she wouldn't have it because she was totally going to have a miracle. 100%. And that kept her, I don't know. It was this, how do I know, right? How do I know who's getting a miracle, who's not? I couldn't believe in my mom. You know, maybe you don't get the miracle that you asked for, but you get a miracle. So she, I'm trying to think all this together. So I think it was the Sunday before Easter, I wanted to get her box ready for Easter. And I just was calling to say, hey, you know, what do you want from Trader Joe's? And she was in agony when she answered the phone. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. And she didn't want to take pain pills. And she was talking about tramadol. I take tramadol when my neck hurts, okay? So this was not the drug she needed to be taking. But she was worried about being constipated. Mimi hated to be constipated, as we all do. But I couldn't figure out what was happening. I just was begging her, you know, take medicine. And I said, you know, Mimi, get hospice over there. I had texted, I think, her husband at that point, who I've never met. I know everything about him, but I've never met him. And I just said, what's happening? You know, and he didn't, you know, he wasn't sure. But what had happened is, and I didn't know this till the next day, she'd had a procedure, an endoscopy, which, why? Right? I mean, that's just nuts. But they made her drink all this crap, and her stomach was distended as if she was 9 months pregnant. and she was in agony. And I think she was afraid of hospice, that meant they would give her drugs and she would die. And I said, you know, Mimi, that's not what hospice does. People go in and out of hospice many times. They're there to make you comfortable. They're there to support your family. That's what hospice is. And I begged her, please call them and have them come to the house. I said, maybe you need a hospital bed. I said, Bumpy can't make these decisions about drugs. And, you know, Mimi was very stubborn, very determined human being. So, I lose track of time. I don't know if it's the next, but she was having an appointment with her oncologist, so she would talk to him. And I think I talked to her the day after, maybe, and she called and and she said it was the worst news possible. That he said he couldn't help her anymore, and that he was crying because to know Mimi and know that you're gonna lose her. I don't care who you are, you cry. It's a loss. So, and this ended up being our last conversation. You know, you never know it's going to be the last conversation. But hospice was coming later that day to bring a hospital bed and just to make her comfortable. And I said, you know, Mimi, miracles can happen. And I think so many people were caught off guard because she was in such denial. It was really, when she accepted it, I mean, she had less than 2 weeks to live. And by that time, the pain, and she was tired, her body was changing, and she was leaving Mimi and starting to transition. So, you know, she said Mimi, she's like, I feel bad. People are calling me and texting me, and she could barely text. It was all she could do to speak to me on the phone. And I said, Mimi, everyone loves you and supports you and prays for you. I said, everyone will understand that you didn't call them back. They'll understand that you couldn't reach out in the traditional way. But so when you're there and you're still in your conscious self, pray for every one of them. Send them love. Thank them. And we wailed. She wanted to live. We wailed. We would not grow old together. This is the hardest conversation I've ever had. And I said, Mimi, you've had your miracle. Really, she did. I said, you've had your miracle. And I said, now it's time to let go. Don't fight anymore. Just let go. And she found a faith, a true faith. She accepted Jesus in her heart. And it was powerful. And this is really, I want to bear witness to this. You know, Mimi is everything everyone says, but she could be vicious. She could be mean. She had a strong vein of self-loathing, I guess, self-hatred. And she needed attention desperately. And, you know, she was like everyone, very complex. And she was Gemini, and she related to that, like the good and the bad, the dark and the light, the saint and the sinner. But it's funny, when she started, you know, to seek out God and to reach for Jesus, she's tentative with me because, I don't know, we used to not make fun of the baby Jesus, but it was a thing, but it drove my mother insane when we talk about baby Jesus and like, what would, you know, anyway. So, but we knew there was an undercurrent of belief there, and we didn't know how to express it, and we really didn't know. We were always afraid of it, I think. It's hard to explain, but we knew what we meant in our hearts and that there was something real there for us. But she found a church Bible study, I think through a friend, and she got rebaptized. And it was truly a miracle because she changed. It was as if most of that, all the negative, all the dark was washed away, and very powerful. And I remember maybe 3 months after that, her baptism, she said to me, "Do you think God's angry with us?" Like, us? What did I do? She's like, you know how we used to make fun of people or jokes at people's expense? I said, well, one, Mimi, you got to sin to be saved. And I said, you know, we would have never done that to someone's face. We didn't mean it. We were trying to be clever for each other, be funny, make each other laugh. And people do that, you know, it's not us. It's how this world is. She was a little meaner than I was, but, well, a lot. But I said, you know, what God wants from us, what I think, is when you know better, you do better. I don't think it's perfection. I don't think you go to Jesus or God not having done things or have a darkness or pain or cause pain. I don't think it's the point. But I said, yeah, you're okay. You're forgiven. God's not mad at either of us. And I said, plus if he doesn't have a sense of humor, I don't know if we'll be where we need to be. But she started, you know, she was tentative with me. Like, she wasn't sure, like, I'm going to reject her. Or I you know, because we were always like holy rollers and Jesus freaks and that, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, jokingly, but I don't know. I think there was an undercurrent of it meant something. So, you know, she was doing Bible study, and Mimi is so smart, truly one of the smart. I don't know how many masters she has, but she's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And she, you know, started studying everything about comparative religion, and she started studying the Bible, and she would take like a psalm and think about it and write about it. And then she could articulate that and she could put it in context. It's hard to explain, you know, and she wanted to be a missionary. She wanted to go spread the word of God and Jesus and forgiveness and love. She did. And if I always teased her, well, you know, how much of your wardrobe can you take with you? She's like, it's not about that. And it really, so she had changed in her heart. Her heart was transformed. It was. And there's still, obviously, we're people, and God is not seeking perfection. But she really, I said on that last conversation, you've had your miracle. You've done what you were supposed to do in this life. Your soul has completed its mission, and it's time to go. You have to let go. You have to let go. You've let go. It's time for you to let go. And she wasn't scared because she really had Jesus and God in her. And we talked about that. And I teased her, I said, you know, if your soul could wear a GoPro and I want to be with you so badly as you transition. And I just have visions of like a whoosh, long tunnel and this amazing color. But of course, we can't do that. And we talked about signs. And I said, you know, how about we were just sitting there like a sign. And I said, how about the color orange? Because she loves orange. She goes, and white pelicans. I said, Mimi, how on earth are you going to give me white pelicans in Maryland? But okay. And I said, you know, having a nice companion would be good. Maybe do well on my YouTube channel. I said, no, you can be busy with other things. But hey, you know, you guys, a couple minutes. So she wasn't afraid. And when we got through the last truly morning, and it was quick and fast that she was dying and she didn't want to. And these are probably conversations we should have had much earlier, but I could not say to her, Mimi, get real. We have to talk about this. You're dying. You don't do that. She got to choose how she wanted to interact in the world, how she wanted to be. I just honored her. But I knew in that conversation, my job, and maybe I was born, was to help her let go. And I don't know what kind of pain she was in. I know she was on a fentanyl patch, and you know, hospice is really good about that. And you know, no matter what people say or do, we have such a solitary world inside of us, and you know, and our secrets and our just everything. So but I don't feel she was afraid. And I don't remember the timeline. That was like a Wednesday or Thursday. And I would text Bumpy. And then our last text said she couldn't text anymore. And she, you know, would post things on Instagram or send to her, and I knew she wasn't looking anymore. And I would call her phone twice a day. Just hear her message, hear her voice, her Mimi voice. Tell her how much I loved her. And then one day, I was hopeful maybe she could listen. But one day the phone, it was full. I knew she wasn't listening, but I knew she heard me. And it was so hard those weeks. I think it was a week. And I don't know, Bumpy. It was hard. You know, you want to go down there, and I want to control everything. And this is not my job or my place. I had to deal with that kind of nonsense because I worked so hard with my mother. But what I learned from my mother is you don't have control. You don't. I thought I could make my mother live. I thought my will alone was enough to make my mom live, and it wasn't. So I just wanted to be present for Mimi. And I would say, it was Friday, she died. It was April 9th. I was at lunch at work, and I felt something shift. I just could feel her soul was ready to leave. It was happening. I texted Bumpy, and I said, what's going on? And he said, she has a few hours left. And then, I don't know, it was around 5:30ish something, and I was sitting there trying to get myself calm so I could drive, not beat her to heaven. And I knew she'd left. I could feel it. I don't know how. It's hard to explain, but I knew she was gone. She was gone from this life. And, you know, Bumpy texted me later. She died, you know, around that time. And, yeah, I think grief is for ourselves, you know. I think of her free and not in that body that had to, I mean, she used to get blisters from the inside out. Chemo is so toxic and evil. It is evil. It robs you. I don't know. Anyway, I know it helps people too, so. But, so we never, I feel like, and I hope you feel nothing was left unsaid with Mimi. Because nothing was. For anyone. So, this is my gift to you. I hope it helps. But I think she really had a miracle. And I think you'll understand that because, Mimi, you know Mimi, the good, the bad, everything, you know, like us all. But she was transformed. And that her service, she never told me it was a Baptist church because, you know, stereotypical holy roller, you know, the Apostle movie kind of church. And I laughed. I really did. And I thought, oh my goodness. But the people were so loving that spoke about her. And one of her friends sang, and heartfelt, but it made me smile so much that I knew Mimi was right there with me, smiling. And I don't know how it works. Like, how can you be everywhere with everyone? But I think you can. I think one of the books I read about dying, coming back to life, that we don't understand the concept of time, and we don't understand omnipresence and how big the soul is, and that is. But the morning, that night, my friend came over, and I drank a whole bottle. of Asti Spumani, which I haven't done probably since we were young, in our 30s. But it's funny, I didn't, you know, I can drink a glass and be drunk now. It's crazy. But I didn't, I felt a little drunk, but I felt like my body was burning it up. Like maybe Mimi was with me having it. So I wasn't hungover. I didn't get sick. But the next morning, I woke up, there was a bird. And I had begged her that night. I said, I have to know. I just have to know you're here. I mean, I know, but I need to know. This is how I am, constantly searching. But I said, I need to know. So when I woke up that morning, my friend, there was a bird singing so loud and so obnoxiously. It wasn't necessarily a pretty song. It went on for hours. And I peeked my head out, and there's a neighbor. And he's like, what is that bird? I have never heard anything. And I said, my friend died yesterday. And he was like, okay. And I knew it was her. And she wanted me to be sure, but I knew it was her. It was loud and long and obnoxious. But you know, one thing I want to share with you, as I don't know if she talked to you about this, she has fallen madly in love with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And you have to know my Mimi, your Mimi, that's just so Mimi. She's so smart. But that night, the second night, I dreamt of piglets. Piglets were running everywhere. And I'm like, okay, she loved piglets. Who doesn't love a piglet? And we always sent each other pictures on Instagram of pigs and piglets. Like, okay, piglets. I'm sitting there. And I was like, huh. Then I remembered. We used to watch the Archbishop of Canterbury. There's a garden at Canterbury. And he would sit out and talk about Jesus and his sermons and things, apostles, all that, in this garden. And there were ducks and pigs and piglets. And she loved him. She would send me links. And it was perfectly Mimi. This older, kind of skinny man, so smart, so calm, so full of love of Jesus and God. And that, I think that was her last crush. The Archbishop of Canterbury. So I turned it on, and you can go check out his sermons anytime. You know, they're on YouTube. And Prince Philip had died, so it was about death and being reborn in the afterlife. So I guess, who is it said that you either live life as it's a miracle, that everything's a miracle, or nothing's a miracle. And I always need signs, and I know they matter. I have a friend who thinks it's just in your head. I don't care. I know. I feel it. I feel it. So check out that Archbishop of Canterbury. And I just love that. But she found him. But we also, you know, Mimi, we love bizarre things. And we used to watch Dr. Pimple Popper together. Now, I cannot, you know, I'm a little bit more sensitive than the average Joe. But I can only watch so much of it. So we're sitting there, and my feed was like 2 seconds ahead of her feed. And I'd go, oh, and she'd go, oh. That's Mimi. So I hope this helps. I don't think she was scared. I really don't. I think God and Jesus had filled her so much that there's no room for that. She had a miracle, truly. She changed. It was a different Mimi. In some ways, we lost that Mimi early. But, you know, think about life, and we all change, and we are different than we were all the time, you know. And maybe that's why people lose friends or jobs or marriages, you know. But she had changed and made peace. She was at peace. She did want to live. But she had been cleansed in a way that's miraculous. She really had been cleansed. So I hope this helps. The reason I told you, I knew she wanted me to tell you. That's Mimi. She wasn't in a place, you know, the pain had taken over in the end of her life. And, you know, that's all you know. It's, I guess it's different for everyone. But she really did want, she would have loved to talk to every single person, especially you. But she couldn't do it on this planet. But I think she'll do it from where she's at now. And thank God for Facebook and Instagram. So I just scroll through, looking at her. What a light, you know? But what darkness too. This idea that everyone becomes a saint when they die. It's just ridiculous. Mimi had a full life. And, you know, a couple of people reached out to me on Instagram. A woman said, oh my God, I've been trying to call her all week. And it was someone who babysat her when she was little. And that's the kind of person Mimi is. You don't let her go. You don't. And I've talked to one of her, you know, texting one of her old boyfriends, Randy, the race driver. And a couple of people she was online friends with, you know, who saw my post and probably followed me because of Mimi, and I followed Mimi. Yeah. So now we live on. And it was fun to see your family, and I'm so happy for you. And I know it's not easy, but you made a life for yourself. Maybe when you didn't know you wanted, maybe when your soul knew you wanted. And I can't tell you how happy that makes me. So, those of you who stayed, that, you know, I only wish for you that you have a Mimi in your life, because it's a gift. And I'm surrounded and supported by so many people, and all you on YouTube have reached out to me. I appreciate it. It's like little angels to me. A little, you're okay. We're here. We got you. Because now we learned to live without her as she was, and I have to readjust what growing old is going to look like, because we were going to be outrageous old women. Maybe I will become one, maybe I won't. We don't know. But every morning, and I mean this sincerely to everyone, and you, Heather, I get up and I dance. Mimi, you know, she was such a good dancer. So comfortable in her body. And I get up and I put on a song and I dance my soul and my grief away. And I'm going to honor her and do that every day. What a gift for me to give myself, to dance with Mimi every day. So, thank you guys. And this is important stuff for me to say, and I think is important for you to hear. And Heather and I, yeah.